one fella I just teach you, he said you have a small one. I said, no, I don't want that fucking thing, I want a 12-inch one. So we had the bigger one.
I'll catch up you. That would be handy for future. Only a handful, but then, you know, they're nice if we keep them, not the containers.
End of October, I need to go and see more Mother Road, right? And show him that and say that's where it is, that's where the best Mother Road is to see. Big show. This is 30 lanes coming this year. The traders. It's a real big thing. Oh no, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Tell you what.
Number 9, sir. Is that number 9? 9. That is a Austin Champ from 1953, a general utility cargo vehicle with a Rolls-Royce 4-cylinder engine. This, meanwhile, is numberless. 54, I've been reliably informed. A 1940 Bedford MW, an early version with open cab, aero screens and canvas side curtains, marked up with Allied stuff as appropriate for D-Day landings. Meanwhile, a motorbike has gone past an AMC matchless. This, meanwhile, that looks rather intimidating, and that was a 1954 Daimler, the basic model Ferret modified by added race cockpit. Here come the Ferrets. These are a number of, we're getting a lot of Daimler Ferrets through here. This, meanwhile, coming past us here in the commentary box, dates from 1943. It is an Austin Tilly brought to us by Stuart Terry. 29,000 of the more commonly named Austin Tilly were produced from 1940 until the end of the war as a pickup for the military use. Fold-up seats in the rear give it dual purpose. Thank you very much for that one. Approaching us now is number 70. This is, I don't recall seeing this yesterday. It's from 1943, another Austin, this time a K2 ambulance brought to us by Colin Harms. It served in the 52nd Lowland Division, Holland, until the end of World War II. It transferred to the Norwegian Army in the 1960s and owned since 1998. Thank you very much indeed. We did spot just now one of the auto unions. Meanwhile, coming past us here in the commentary box is number 69. It is a 1944 Ford L818, just by Daniel. It's a 1950 1958 Rio. Nice big noise from that one. An M54A2 troop carrier there. Meanwhile, on the approach to us is a 1945 AEC Matador, sold from Army service in 1958, then into civil engineering firm Yates of Bolton, restored in 2001. Thank you very much to Phil Bennett. Meanwhile, here comes a 1987 Land Rover Defender, fully refurbished by the for the MOD as part of the British Army Life Extension Programme. Here, meanwhile, from 1969, brought to us by Rob Clark, is a KMZ K750. The K750 was the first of the 750 machines built in Kiev Motorworks in Ukraine. It's similar to the Mach 1940. It's a Bedford OY, brought to us by Mark Towers, Britain's most numerous three-tonner with 72,000 delivered in World War II. Thank you very much. This, meanwhile, is a Daimler Ferret from 1965, running a Rolls-Royce V60 petrol engine with a Wilson pre-selector gearbox and permanent four-wheel drive, in service from 65 until struck off in 94. Meanwhile, this also dates from 1940. Thank you very much for the commitment to that, sir. It's number 77, as I'm sure you can tell. It's a BSA WM20 from 1940. Thank you very much to Rob Clark for bringing that one along. 500cc side valve engine. This, meanwhile, is another lovely BSA motorcycle. And this, oh yes, we do like this one. We like this one a lot. This is number 90. Dates from 1944. M8 Greyhound armoured vehicle manufactured by Ford. Brought to us by Jeff Bridger. Thank you very much, Jeff. Four-man crew, used by the Americans and the British during World War II. Originally designed as a tank destroyer, short wheelbase 6x6 with 2.5 ton payload, 6-cylinder 94 brake horsepower side valve petrol engine. It was the workhorse of the US Army during World War II. This one is 65. 65 is a 1943 JMC 352 SWB, brought to us by Brian Harper. Thank you very much indeed, Brian. It was produced throughout World War II with closed or open cab and with or without front-mounted winch for the US and Allied forces, including at least 400 supplied to the UK. Meanwhile, this is a 1972 Land Rover Series 3, brought to us by Simon Elliott, a standard military lightweight half-ton GS 4x4, now fitted with a 200 TDI diesel engine. Elsewhere, we've got this classic Willys Jeep. It is from Colin Harms again. Colin, you've got a great collection going on. It's a truck, quarter-ton 4x4. Production started in late 1941. Here, meanwhile, also from the 1970s, also a Land Rover. This time a Series 3, 88-inch half-ton, original 2286cc petrol engine. This, meanwhile, is number 48. It's a 1956 DAF. YA126 ex-Dutch Army weapons carrier 5.9 diesel engine, decommissioned in 1996 on reaching 18,000 miles. This, meanwhile, is a Ford GPW and trailer, brought to us by Jeffrey John Wilson, purchased by the present owner on release from the French Army in 1980. Salon is a 1941 Bedford RAF MW, brought to us by Peter Bold, lovingly restored as a 299 squadron truck, serving at RAF Kieval with a 6-cylinder 3.5 litre petrol engine and 2-wheel drive. I do love that. The aesthetic, it's just painted immaculately. Meanwhile, on its approach now is the GMC CCKW 353, brought to us by Steve Pan, served with the US Army in Europe, rebuilt by the French Army in 1965. Its restoration is ongoing and has been since 2017, with the markings of the World War II French 2nd Armoured Division. This mine, meanwhile, is another big boy. It's number 91. Number 91, we'll have to get back to you on that as soon as we possibly can. I'm having to flick through the book to find it. It's big. You wouldn't want it behind you in heavy traffic, put it that way. He can't hear us, which is probably good because we can't tell you what it is currently because we don't have the information. Can only apologise. We're doing our best. Silent Stew is flying through the booklet on that one. Meanwhile, on the approach to us in the commentary box is a Dodge WC-51 weapons carrier from 1942, brought to us by Jeff Meadows. It was built in the USA for the Allied invasion in June 1944. Post-war served with the Royal Norwegian Air Force. It was purchased in 2014 and taken to France for the 80th D-Day tour this year. Lovely stuff. Sorry I'm slow, but I'm over 70 years old, it says on the back. Completely fair enough. Meanwhile, this is a 1993 Leyland DAF, brought to us by Tom Vassy, a 4-ton GS road carrier produced by a powered by a Leyland 5.9 litre diesel engine and has all-time four-wheel drive, 4,500, produced between 1990 and 1995. This looks to us, indeed it is, to be the Dodge staff car from 1940, brought to us by Alex Small. Thank you very much indeed for that. Meanwhile, this looks like something that Steve McQueen rode on during a certain film. But it's an Armstrong motorcycle, an Armstrong 500, an Armstrong 500, I'm reliably informed. You could ride that through a World War II movie. I don't know a lot about bikes, I'm afraid. That's why we've got Roger the Dodge later for the bikes. Meanwhile, number 57 is a 1960 Austin Series 3 variant with a diesel engine, one of only 50 built for evaluation, but unfortunately was never adopted for service. Coming up behind that is a Kaiser. A Kaiser Jeep. It's huge for a Jeep. Referred to in this case as the Whistler, which is an absolutely fantastic power unit. You've got dual fuel, you've got additional compression for the intake there. That power unit on that is absolutely brilliantly engineered. Some really clever engineering has gone into that. Meanwhile, coming up behind it is a 1976 Land Rover, 1 tonne, served with 42 commando and carried an 81mm mortar and crew, or 1 tonne load capacity, with a 3.5 litre V8 engine. Oh yes, there's a V8 in that one. Another Land Rover now from 1980 this time, a 3/4 tonne GS brought to us by Richard Marshall. His brother Alan, I imagine, was ahead of him. Serving with the Duke Wellington Regiment, which was demobbed in 1997. Behind that, another Land Rover, another Series 3, and that was brought to us by Mark Lacey. This one used to promote The Living Daylights, the first appearance of Timothy Dalton as James Bond, and it serves in the markings of the Gibraltar Garrison Regiment, the opening sequence of The Living Daylights set in Gibraltar, of course. Meanwhile, the number has just gone down, but I think we can tell you it's a 1943 Bedford MW brought to us by Mark Towers, most common of the various 15 CWT body truck used by the British forces in World War II, a 3.5 litre 6-cylinder petrol engine in that one.
Well, hello everyone, this is Roger the Dodge, here today to give you some information on all the bikes and the riders as well. I've no doubt you saw the bike coming round first round. That was Andy on the Harley Davidson Grand Prix Racer. So I'll tell you about that one a bit later on. Anyway, I'm Roger Dodge. My family were motorcyclists. My mum was a motorcyclist back in the 1930s, and my dad as well. In fact, they met in a motorcycle shop. So it was inevitable that I would be a motorcycle enthusiast.
go. That's the environment now and that football. There's a big show. They can put that with a loader. They just drop it into the field, whatever they want to do.
Keep your head out of the way because take your head out. They were still using them when I started.
Right, so this is the same thing we normally use. This one's a manual, and that one's This is it. That's how it works. Oh, there we go. For shows just like this, there we go. And the telegraph points as well, yeah. There we go.
Now is a 1951 Bedford MSD brought to us by Kevin Patch. Thank you very much, Kevin. Here now, from 1973, is an AEC Matador, brought to us by Andrew Leonard. New to British sound recording Sturbridge and used with a single axle trailer delivering record players. Now, that's a bit of me. Restored from scrap condition by, we imagine, its owner, Andrew. Meanwhile, this comes from 1975 as an Atkinson border tractor unit, brought to us by David. 1986 Seddon Atkinson now, new to the Royal Air Force and brought to us by Terry Moore. Here now, from 1994, is a Scania 93220. Was reconditioned in Kings Lynn about 7 years ago. It then moved to Somerset about 4 years ago and is still occasionally used for light duties. And it was brought to us by John Chimslewski. And there's a lovely little load on the back there. That's cute. I like that. This now is number 19. It is the 1979 ERF B-Series 240HR, an ex-military vehicle used as a recovery vehicle before being converted to its present form, owned by Peter Holman. Meanwhile, this is a 2-litre V4 petrol, not from 1972, it's Ford, as you can see, is an ex-Air Force ambulance with an unusual high back door. It's 37,000 miles from new. Notice the Ghostbusters logo in the back window. 63 is a BMC, and it's brought to us by Paul Mancini. Looks rather warm in that cab, I must say. A lot of these predate air conditioning by a fair old way. It looks to us this to be a 1956 Albion, also brought to us by Paul Mancini. Do give a wave as they come by. Looking really great there. War office in 1942, sold on in 1946, where it stayed until 2009, and it has recently undergone major cab repairs and is looking all the better for it. Also appreciating the period costume of the driver. That's a really nice touch, really great. Look at this, in absolute pristine condition. Here now, one of our favourites each year, a regular appearance at the Steam Rally for the Somerset Railway Association from 1961. It's a Dennis water ladder. It is a fire engine. It was new to the SFB 1961. Stationed at B6 Glastonbury as a pump escape appliance carrying a 50-foot wheeled escape ladder as displayed. You can see it there. Bell's working. Coming up on the approach, another 1961 Dennis, this time of F28 fire engine. Powered by a Rolls-Royce 4877cc B61 petrol engine, new to the Somerset Fire Brigade in 1961, stationed at Poulton near Bristol until 1979. Fire engineering by Carmichael, built for fire protection at the BOC and Mill in Bristol, and retired down to the Bristol Fire Museum, purchased in 2002. Thank you very much indeed. Excellent stuff. Meanwhile, coming up... We've got here now, from 1974, a Volvo F88. And it was first operated by Distillers Yeast in Bristol. Interesting. And ended up as a shunter in their cannery at Stratford-upon-Avon. Purchased in bits by the present owner, Clive Davis. Talking of Clive, he also owns this example of a Volvo F86 from 1976, first operated by a furniture company in Liverpool, purchased by the present owner from a haulier and restored in the colours of R. Keedwell. This now is number 13 from 1969, an Austin A60 truck brought to us by Ollie Cope. The truck body vehicle, brought in poor condition, restored over 3 years. Half-ton commercial models were based on the A55 with 1622cc. Commercial vehicles are heading off now by the looks of things. Really love this example. It's nearly 100 years old and still running. That is really wonderful. and it's single speed, but it can get up to 30 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, yeah. Underneath the driver's seat, and as well, the burner is set under the driver's seat, but now at least it's a kerosene, well, paraffin burner, which is a little bit safer than petrol. Yes, yeah, got that. But that one was built in 2006, wasn't it? 2009, yeah.
You just keep radiating out the exhaust at the back. And Wallace and Stevens. No, but it says that it's 16.
It's a Foden.
It is a Foden, yes, but it says 16 in the categories here. We've got it down as that would help if I was on the right pay. What would it be? Yes, a 4.5-inch Foden J-type steam lorry. There we go. So this is why we have you in, Richard, because without you, I would be absolutely interested.
Ron Tor, those of you that go towards the Mendens will know the Tor works at anyway, the Tor works near through.
Lexi's just come past us, a 4-inch Foster traction engine owned by David Mallinson, and towards us now in number 21, 4-inch barrel Haulage by David Rossington.
Interestingly, you don't see so many rollers in miniature form for some reason. More likely to see traction engine form.
This now is Jubilee, a 6-inch Savage little Samsung steam tractor. Engine was scratched, built by Ray Sweeting and completed in 2014. The current owner purchased the engine in 2020, moving it up in scale from a 4.5-inch barrel agricultural engine. And the current owner has been fitting. This now is number 15, which is a 6-inch Savage little Samsung steam tractor owned by Rob and Sue Gibbons. The engine is a model that was ever built in the early 1990s, but standing rather survived.
McLaren, just for so as you understand what we mean by 4-inch and 6-inch size engine. It may not look half the size, but that's what it is. 4-inch obviously would be a third size. So,
talking of 6 inches, we're talking of half size. It's a half size Garrett 4CD twin crank compound engine owned by Jonathan Fitz.
So you've used the thing twice. So if you've got 2 pistons, you therefore need 2 crankshafts. Although later on, when the full-size one comes through, we will see an engine that is a compound with only 1 crankshaft. If you look at Esme here, that's just coming from, that's a single-cylinder engine. You've just got the 1 piston rod driving onto the crankshaft.
Right.
Whereas if you could have seen the working on the compound, you would have seen that there were 2 piston rods, well, you can't see the 2 pistons.
One's high pressure and one's low pressure.
Yeah.
Now this meanwhile is actually for sale. It's a 4.5-inch barrel available for £20,000 if you're interested. The number unfortunately obscured and it's curled under the engine. It's 826 on the Reliably Informed. It is a 4-inch barrel traction engine. It's owned by Mark Wheeler. You could be the proud owner of that if you're interested. It's available there for £20,000. Meanwhile, on its way past us here in the comment box is something that looks steam driven but is actually adapted from a mobility scooter. It flips up and down throughout the steam rally across the weekend. It's always a favourite here, and that is lovely to see. Thank you for bringing Matilda along again.
From Cornwall then.
I assume so. Don't know whether you'd admit to being from Cornwall unless you were.
Well, if you admitted from being from Cornwall and you weren't, you'd be telling a little porky, really, wouldn't you?
I think there are reasons you don't just past us. Very young. Also just coming past us is a 4-inch McLaren road locomotive as well.
number on it. It looks to me like a 4-inch failure in the Showman's form.
So this Showman's form, what would that mean?
Well, they would be used on showgrounds. Very impressive engines they are as well.
Excellent stuff. Meanwhile, on the approach to us now, this has got a number of trailers behind it and a fairly substantial couple of rear wheels there.
This is a MAN, MAN. It was designed for pulling trailers around like this on the road. More or less hold it down a little bit, but more or less hold it.
Meanwhile, here comes Cornish Star. Now, what can you tell us about Cornish Star?
Well, this is in the sort of Showman's form. As I said, there's not much brass on it, but if you look, there is a dynamo sticking out from the front, and that is designed to be run on a belt and the flywheel on the engine there to produce that particular one.
Talking of big, here's Hercules.
Hercules is big. Was built Italy, where it was converted into a roller, a 15-ton roller, which is quite a heavy one. And it came back to this country about 10 years ago, and since then Mike White has taken it back to its original form. Now this marvellous engine coming on.
Marvellous engine. Do I detect a hunting
Wonderful engine. This is from 1905. These rollers were actually built for stone roads, so when you got potholes in stone roads, all you had to do was dig the road up and just flatten it again. The scarifier was designed just to rip the road surface.
So would you drag it behind? That's my wondering was whether it was stored at the back and then put onto the front when required. But so
that's where
you would drag it behind you and then reverse the traction engine?
Yeah. No. There's a couple of times it sticks down, right, and lower the road surface and carry on going forward.
Okay, and then would you have someone else coming up to clear
Recently, there was a sale from Crowsford in Norfolk when they got some of their reserve collection, and that was one that came out of there. Originally, it was new to the Edison Rolling Company, and we've got to keep up here. King Central. That engine was new to the present owner's great grandfather. It was eventually sold out to his family one point, and they managed to buy it back in about 5 years ago. Interestingly, you and I were talking yesterday about doing cooking in.
Yes.
They had put in their smokestack today a rhubarb strawberry Crompton, which I assured them I should be keeping the quite promptly to come round and help me fit them.
I must say, I'd be interested to sample some traction engine cooked dessert. Meanwhile, that is absolutely stunning. That is also gigantic.
No. This is Lady Beth.
Lady Beth is huge.
Yes, she is a showman engine. Not yet quite complete. Many years she's been in pieces, and this year is the first year they've had her out. They've spent an awful lot of time, well and money of course, on installing her, and they're really very proud of what they've done so far. Basically, that was bought as a kit of parts. It had been operational some years ago, but they've been out of action for some time. And the Gilbert family, who own that, have spent a lot of time installing it.
Well, that's absolutely stunning. Meanwhile,
Old Tim's just gone past, the crane engine.
we'll see a bit more of that later on.
Hopefully to see more of that in the war later on. That was new to Screen Brothers, and about 20-30 years ago, that was still in its original working phase. And they were very careful to measure and photograph everything, so that all the writing, etc. on it now is identical to how it was that long.
This is another engine we're familiar with yesterday, and you've got a demonstration of the winching system. This one.
This was so new to Australia. There's the dealers there on Showman, and it worked all its life in Australia before being found in the playground basically. We returned in the early 2000s to this country in a very incomplete state. It was about 50% incomplete. Awful lot of time there. We've got into new cylinder block, new boiler bar, new driver, truck. Those of you that were driving around the area Friday might have got held up, as I was, coming down through North Petherton, when it was on its way here.
You don't mind getting caught behind something like this, although I will do later.
Some people do, believe me.
They are gorgeous to look at. Like, here's one for the sort of, in its showroom livery. It's got the Dyno Jubilee, plenty of brass fittings and trim across the engine. This is absolutely stunning.
Yeah. Now you won't. This takes typically one. That was built as this Norton traction engine. The answer is no, it's not. Wally Clear owned that model or miniature a long time before he bought the other one, and they're actually by two different manufacturers. So no, if anybody wonders, that is not a copy of the full size film.
On their case, as it were, marked up. Don't be frightened or worried about talking to the owners. They love talking about their engines, particularly some of the ones that had a lot of work done on them. And it will bring home to you as to how much effort goes into these engines. And hopefully by next year it'll have the rest of the Showman's fittings on it.
It's a real testament to the blood, sweat and tears that is required to get these engines built and firing and maintained. 16 weeks of very little sleep from what we can gather.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, sleep is something that is not always allowable with your steam engine. Just split apart under water pressure, whereas if it breaks and splits under steam pressure, it's more like an explosion. So will be going for, and I believe, or I hope, somebody will be there with a box for donations to charity.
Would be a nice idea. Remember, all of this is for charity. The entire event, the money goes towards putting the event on next year, and also goes towards the upkeep of the West Somerset Railway. And I'm rather delighted to see that in the news there's talk in the press of reconnecting the West Somerset Railway with the main line, which would just make a lot of sense and would improve the transport links here on this end of the southwest no end. I'm quite taken with that.
Talking rubbish.
Yeah, but that's what they do.